a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Humboldt Broncos bus crash. On April 6, 2018 near Armley, Saskatchewan, Canada, 16 people were killed and 13 injured when a westbound semi-trailer truck was struck by a northbound coach bus. The semi-trailer had failed to yield at a flashing stop sign at the intersection of Highways 35 and 335. The bus was traveling at a speed of approximately 100 km per hour. Most of the dead and injured were teenagers from the Humboldt Broncos, a junior ice hockey team that plays in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Across the country, the crash prompted condolences from public figures and celebrities, vigils, and tributes, such as people leaving hockey sticks outside their doors. A GoFundMe crowdfunding campaign set a national record by raising over $15 million. Background: Saskatchewan Highways 35 and 335 meet at a right-angle intersection near the village of Armley in the rural municipality of Connaught, Saskatchewan. The intersection is commonly known as Armley Corner. Traffic on Highway 35, running north-south, has the right-of-way at the intersection and a speed limit of 100 km per hour. Traffic on Highway 335, both westbound and eastbound, has a speed limit of 100 km per hour, dropping to 60 km per hour at the intersection, which has stop signs with flashing red lights. The signal lights were installed after a fatal traffic collision at the same intersection in 1997 in which 6 members of a family from British Columbia were killed. 6 memorial crosses in the intersection's southeast corner commemorate those deaths. From 2011 to 2015, Saskatchewan had 13.2 traffic deaths per 100,000 people, the highest rate of any province or territory in Canada and over double the national average. Crash. The coach bus carrying the team and the semi-trailer truck collided at the intersection of Highways 35 and 335 near Armley at about 5 p.m. CST. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police are investigating the collision, but have not confirmed any account of the incident. The federal force, which also acts as Saskatchewan's provincial police, stated the investigation would take some time. The semi-trailer truck was westbound on Highway 335, while the bus was northbound on Highway 35. At the time of the collision, the roads were clear on a sunny afternoon. Photos of the scene shown in a video released by a news agency show that the front of the bus was obliterated, while the front of the truck was undamaged. One of the survivors described how the bus broadsided the semi-trailer truck, which was consistent with the photographic account of the incident. A father of one of the victims stated that they pulled up and saw the front of the bus was gone, and that the normal seating plan on the bus would have been rookies in the front, veterans in the back. Survivor Caleb Dahlgren recounted later that the bus had the 18-year-olds up front, 19-year-olds in the middle, and the 20-year-olds in the back. The father of one deceased victim claims police told him the truck ran a stop sign. The force of the impact caused both vehicles to come to rest off the highway in the northwest corner, lying on their sides. According to the RCMP, the bus carried 29 people, including the driver. 14 died initially and 15 suffered injuries. 2 of the critically injured later died in the hospital. As part of the emergency response to the accident, Shock Trauma Air Rescue Society dispatched 3 helicopters to assist with transporting victims. Several of the injured were taken to the Royal University Hospital in Saskatoon, about 250 kilometers southwest of the accident. The truck driver was not injured in the crash. Photos show the semi-trailer's load of peat moss was strewn over the ground. Police detained and later released the truck driver. The RCMP stated that the driver was being provided with mental health and wellness assistance. The owner of the trucking company later confirmed that the truck driver was receiving psychological support since his release. The team chaplain Sean Brandau arrived at the scene of the accident shortly after the collision and attempted to offer prayers and aid. Officers directed families of the team toward a church in Nipawin, where family and friends gathered to wait. One father recounted, "You're at the church and most of the families are there. All the veterans' parents start getting phone calls, 'We got your boy, come to the hospital.' You get a little deeper and at the end of the night it's mostly the rookies' parents there. And then of course the police had the conversation with us." The RCMP stated that they would not be releasing the names of the dead until the families were notified. but the family of Broncos head coach and general manager Darcy Horgan confirmed on Twitter that he was one of the 16 killed. Team captain Logan Schatz was also confirmed as dead by his father, the bus driver, Glenn Dirksen, and 2 radio station employees. Announcer Tyler Bieber and statistician Brody Hines died in the collision. Dirksen was a former board member for the Carrot River Outback Thunder hockey team, serving from 2006 to 2011 and a driver for Charlie's Charters, a Saskatchewan bus company. 4 days after the crash, athletic therapist Dana Bronze, the only woman on the bus, died from head injuries sustained in the collision. First responders. 3 helicopters and 4 air ambulance planes were loaned from various cities and companies to help transport the most critically wounded to the Royal University Hospital in Saskatoon, almost 170 miles away. Due to the number of injuries, the hospital declared a code orange, indicating mass casualties were en route. The Saskatchewan Health Authority, which oversees hospitals and ambulance services in the province, has encouraged employees affected to access counseling available, as many of the first responders had ties to the accident. Jessica Brost, a paramedic from Nipawin, stated that the crash was just too close to home, especially in Saskatchewan, where everyone is either a billet, obsessed with hockey, or the parent of a teenage hockey player. Doug Lupshug, president of the Saskatchewan Volunteer Firefighters Association, said his organization has sent peer counselors to help members of the Nipawin and Tisdale fire departments who were involved in removing victims from the crash. A Tisdale crane operator was called to the scene of the crash to use his crane to hoist the roof of the bus to allow first responders to access victims underneath it. He stated concern about the poor first responders. Them guys, they were the ones getting the people out of there, they were the ones making the decisions. It was estimated that 80 first responders were on scene of the crash, with resources from Tisdale, Nipawin, Zenon Park, Carrot River, Melfort, and other locations dispatched to provide aid. An eyewitness who was waiting to turn at the intersection stated that her 911 call, placed moments after the incident, was responded to 15 minutes later by police. Investigation. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police planned a news conference about the investigation into the crash. According to a statement released April 18, 2018, the Assistant Commissioner Curtis Zablotsky, the commanding officer of the Saskatchewan RCMP, will not announce any charges related to the crash. The RCMP planned to only answer general questions from the media about the collision. During the press conference, Zablotsky stated that the truck driver was immediately taken into custody and released after the accident, and that the driver has been in constant contact with the RCMP. Under investigation are the engine computers for both vehicles, the driver's logs, and the driver's experience. It was also stated during the press conference that the truck driver was in the intersection at the time of collision, but Assistant Commissioner Zablotsky said he could not comment on its speed when the crash took place. RCMP returned to the scene of the crash on April 19, 2018, to do additional analysis and testing with reconstructionists and officers. A police news release stated the investigators would be using vehicles similar to those involved in the collision to allow the reconstructionists to take further measurements and analyze sight lines. Previously, members of the RCMP had conducted more than 50 interviews with independent witnesses, the driver of the semi-trailer truck, the trucking company's owner, victims and other individuals. Over 5,500 pictures had been taken to document the scene and analyzed, along with imaging from 3D technology and drone usage. Kelsey Fiddler, present at the intersection at the time of the crash, has been identified as a key eyewitness. She stated in an interview she had to swing her vehicle away seconds before the crash to avoid being sandwiched by the two vehicles. Reportedly, she was waiting at the eastbound stop sign on Highway 335 to make the turn onto Highway 35 and saw the bus approaching in the northbound lane of Highway 35 at what seemed to her as regular highway speed. Fiddler is also identified as one of the first callers to 911 in response to the crash. Aftermath. Numerous politicians and dignitaries in Canada expressed their condolences after the accident, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe, and Alberta Premier Rachel Notley. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip also offered their condolences in the days following the accident. U.S. President Donald Trump phoned Trudeau, and subsequently tweeted to offer his condolences to the victims and their families. Celebrities and other public figures such as Ellen DeGeneres, Drake and Whoopi Goldberg voiced their sympathy and condolences to those who were affected. Pope Francis also sent a message of condolences, which was read out by the Bishop of Saskatoon at a Sunday service 2 days after the accident. The Swift Current Broncos of the Western Hockey League expressed their condolences to the Humboldt Broncos organization, players, and families. A group of survivors from the Swift Current Broncos bus crash in 1986, led by Sheldon Kennedy, headed to Humboldt to offer their support to the community and hockey team. The SJHL indefinitely suspended its playoffs immediately following the crash. The league's Board of Governors, which is composed of representatives from each member club, unanimously decided on April 11 to allow the 2 remaining teams in the playoffs to play for the league championship. The Manitoba Junior Hockey League, the SJHL's counterpart in the neighboring province of Manitoba, delayed its championship series by 4 days out of respect for the SJHL and the Broncos. The champions of the 2 leagues play for the Inavit Cup Regional Junior Championship following the conclusion of their respective league playoffs. Humboldt schools reopened, though classes were not expected to be in session, on April 10, 2018, with crisis workers present. It was also released that the truck was from a Calgary-based company, Adeshdiol Trucking Limited, which had been operating for only 1 year. Adeshdiol's safety certificate was automatically suspended due to the severity of the incident while they are investigated by the Alberta Transportation Ministry. A letter posted on Reddit and linked on Facebook, offering support and sympathy to the unidentified driver of the semi-trailer, has been widely shared. On April 8, it was discovered that one of the dead, Parker Tobin, had been misidentified by the coroner as Xavier Labelle, who survived the crash. This prompted an apology from the coroner. One of the survivors, Ryan Strashnitsky, paralyzed from the waist down as a result of the accident, has told his parents he wants to continue playing sledge hockey and compete in the Paralympic Games. Saskatchewan Government Insurance announced on April 13, 2018, plans to improve training standards for truck drivers by 2019. At that time, no training was required to be done by certified schools. Blood donations increased by as much as 25% in some cities in Western Canada after the crash. After the news of Logan Bullett's organ donation, 3,071 Albertans registered as organ donors in a single weekend, compared to the province's weekly average of 425. Brought to you by WikiVidi documentaries. Would you like to know more?